Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into one of history's most fascinating puzzles, from the period between 1200 and 1450. It all takes place in a region known as Dar al-Islam. So let's get into it and explore how a world could be falling apart and flourishing all at the exact same time.
So, this is the big question for today, isn't it? It sounds like a total contradiction. How can a massive civilization have this incredible golden age of science and culture at the very moment its political empire is fracturing and collapsing? It seems impossible. To really wrap our heads around this, we need to rewind a bit.
All right, first things first, let's set the scene. We're talking about Dar al-Islam, specifically during the final centuries of what was known as the Abbasid Caliphate.
Now, the thing you have to understand about Dar al-Islam is that it wasn't a single country with neat, tidy borders. Think of it more as a huge cultural sphere, a deeply interconnected world that was all held together by a shared faith. After the Prophet Muhammad's death in 632, Islam just spread like wildfire. Through military conquest, yeah, but also through merchants and missionaries, creating this unbelievable territory stretching all the way from Spain to India.
And for a long time, the heart of this world was Baghdad, the capital of the Abbasid Caliphate. And at the heart of Baghdad, the legendary House of Wisdom. Now, this wasn't just some dusty library. It was, without a doubt, the world's #1 center for research, for translation, for big ideas. Scholars from all different faiths and cultures traveled here to translate Greek classics and debate philosophy. It was the intellectual capital of the planet, full stop.
But, and there's always a but in history, isn't there? This golden age of a single, central power just couldn't last. The massive Abbasid Empire started to feel some serious pressure, both from forces on the outside and from cracks forming within.
The political breakdown didn't happen all at once. It was more like a slow-motion collapse. First, around the 1100s, the Seljuk Turks swept in and grabbed the real political power, leaving the caliph as more of a religious symbol than an actual ruler. Then, about a century and a half later in Egypt, these elite slave soldiers, the Mamluks, staged a coup and set up their own powerful sultanate. And the final knockout blow? That came in 1258, when the Mongols just completely sacked Baghdad, burned the House of Wisdom, and ended the Abbasid Caliphate.
And as if all that political chaos wasn't enough, the economy started to crumble too. For centuries, Baghdad was rich because it was the hub for global trade. But as things got more and more unstable, those vital trade routes, they started shifting north. The money and goods started flowing somewhere else, and Baghdad's wealth and influence just withered.
So, the Abbasid Empire was gone. You might think, okay, game over for Islamic power, right? Well, not at all. It wasn't an end, it was a transformation. A whole new political map was being drawn across the region.
In the rubble of the Abbasid collapse, new, powerful Islamic states rose up. And what's really interesting is that many of these new rulers, like the Mamluks in Egypt or the founders of the Delhi Sultanate over in India, were actually Turkic peoples from Central Asia. They admired and adopted a lot of the Abbasid sophisticated culture and government, but make no mistake, they were ruling their own independent shows.
And this right here, this is the absolute key to the whole paradox. Even though the political map was all chopped up into rival kingdoms, the idea of Dar al-Islam, that shared cultural world, was stronger than ever. A common legal system, the Sharia, and this amazing network of schools and scholars connected people and ideas across thousands of miles, from Spain to Egypt to India.
Which brings us right back to our paradox. With the central power of Baghdad gone, you'd totally expect intellectual life to just fall off a cliff. But the exact opposite happened. As power spread out, new hotspots of learning and innovation started popping up all over the Islamic world. And it led to this incredible explosion of knowledge. The way these ideas moved was so dynamic. Scholars across Dar al-Islam weren't just preserving old knowledge like museum curators. They were creating a fusion. They translated Greek classics that might have been lost forever. They saw the genius of the numbering system from India and adopted it. They learned how to make paper from China, a technology that eventually passed to Europe. And all this mixing and matching led to brand new, game-changing innovations.
And the results were just mind-blowing. You have scholars like Nasr al-Din al-Tusi literally inventing trigonometry. They were creating astronomical charts so accurate they wouldn't be beaten for centuries. In medicine, big cities like Cairo were so advanced they had professional exams and licenses for doctors. It was a true golden age, just one that wasn't happening in only one place anymore.
And this intellectual boom wasn't some exclusive boys' club either. It included incredible people like Aisha al-Baniya, who was one of the most prolific female Muslim writers of the entire pre-modern era. As a Sufi mystic and poet, she represented a whole other path to knowledge, one that was more about introspection, about a personal connection to the divine. And that mystical approach was also a huge reason why Islam continued to spread and resonate with so many different cultures.
Now, if there is one place that perfectly bottles this entire story of cultural fusion and intellectual brilliance, it has got to be Islamic Spain, or, as it was known, Al-Andalus.
In cities like Córdoba, you had this unique culture of tolerance, what some have called convivencia, or living together. For centuries, Muslims, Christians, and Jews were all living in the same city, sharing ideas, translating texts. They didn't just tolerate each other, they actively collaborated, studying each other's work and pushing the boundaries of what was known together. It was a true intellectual ecosystem.
And here it is, the final, absolutely critical piece of the puzzle. This enormous library of knowledge, in science, in medicine, in math, in philosophy, all the stuff that was preserved, built upon, and created across Dar al-Islam, especially in Spain, it eventually made its way into Europe. This transfer of knowledge was essential. It helped lay the very foundation for what would later become the European Renaissance and the scientific revolution.
So we're left with this incredibly powerful idea. The story of Dar al-Islam during this time shows us that an empire can fall, borders can be redrawn, and political power can shatter into a million pieces. But a network built on shared culture and powerful ideas, that can not only survive, it can thrive, crossing any border you put in its way and changing the future of the entire world.